Right, I think that's the last of you who have made it in from the lobby. So let's start. So look, good afternoon all, and thank you for joining me today to listen to a presentation on 3 of our small ship expedition itineraries that cruise the waters of Sulawesi and Sumatra. Our complete East Indies cruise series actually comprises 6 really beautiful and very individual itineraries, but attempting to cover all 6 in one kind of relatively brief 45-minute presentation proves a little bit too difficult. And so we've decided to split this expedition series into 2 parts, hence the part 1 on the screen. If Raja Ampat, the Spice Islands, West Papua, and beautiful Borneo are on your must-do list for this year or in the years ahead, then please feel free to join us on Monday, the 19th of February at 3 p.m. And I must say that's Queensland time, 3 p.m. And we'll have a pretty deep delve into the second half of our East Indies cruise series. If any of you have any questions throughout this presentation, then please feel free to pop them into the chat function on your device, and I'll do my level best to answer as many of these, time permitting, at the end of the presentation. We're also recording today's webinar, and so we'll email a copy to all of you that have attended or just registered, so you can rewatch as many times as required. We're lucky to have the lovely Nicky Henderson, one of my colleagues, joining us today to provide her extensive destination knowledge on these 3 expedition itineraries, and I'll introduce you to her shortly. So as per the slide on the screen, we're going to be focusing on 3 itineraries today that in the wake of the Macassans, 14 nights Darwin and Makassar, the full Sulawesi circumnavigation, 20 nights Makassar to Makassar, and again, another full circumnavigation of the island of Sumatra, 18 nights Singapore to Singapore. So look, many of you joining us today will have travelled with Coral Expeditions previously and will be more than aware of the type of expedition experience we offer. But for those new to Coral, I just want to provide a brief overview of who we are and what you can expect from one of our expedition itineraries and why you should be considering Coral Expedition for your next holiday. So for 40 years, Coral has operated with a single purpose: to take small groups of like-minded explorers to remote places with expert guidance and warm Australian hospitality. We are a 100% Australian-owned company. Our head office is based up in Cairns. We sail under the Australian flag, and the vast majority of our onboard crew are Aussies, although we do let a little sprinkling of Kiwis on board as well. So what is the expedition experience? For those of you new to Coral, it's worth stating right away that if you're looking for that kind of classic big ship experience with multiple bars and restaurants, nightclubs and casinos, then the Coral Expeditions product is probably not what you're looking for. Instead, we offer an informal, relaxed onboard experience with no dressing for dinner, no assigned seating, and no formal onboard entertainment outside our schedule of lectures and presentations from our guest lecturer and expedition leader team, and obviously specific to the waters in which you cruise. The whole ethos of the company is to focus on the stunning destinations we visit rather than the ship itself, and that's a very different prospect from some of the big ship cruise lines out there. We offer a minimum of 2 shore excursions daily and utilize our trademark and unique explorer tenders to ensure your time is maximized ashore with no waiting or queuing. Our shore excursions are tailored to all, no matter the levels of fitness. And so we offer our guests anything from a strenuous walk or hike to a site of interest or viewpoint through to a much gentler beachcomb or exploration of the area. In suitable locations, we also offer the choice of staying aboard our Explorer tenders, which I'm going to come on to in more detail shortly, to cruise through the bays, creeks, rivers and coastlines, just for those not inclined to head ashore on that particular day. The point being that we offer a range of excursion opportunities to fit all fitness requirements and hopefully specific areas of interest. And again, all shore excursions are accompanied by our expedition team, meaning we can guarantee the quality of both the aboard and ashore expedition experience. So look, any coral expedition cruise offers that relaxed and informal onboard environment, and we encourage an open interaction between guests and crew. Our open bridge policy allows regular interactions with the captain, and there's plenty of both in and outdoor areas to relax and enjoy the stunning scenery drift by. Usually, I must say, with a cheeky G&T or glass of wine in hand. The onboard guest experience is at its core built around two main areas: the delicious kind of culinary and wine experience, and the schedule of guest lectures and presentations from our onboard experts. The aim being that you can fully immerse yourselves in the flora, fauna, history, geology, and cultures of the very diverse places that we visit. Your cruise will be led by a dedicated expedition leader who will work closely with the captain to determine the daily programme, ensuring that the best use is made of prevailing weather and tidal conditions. Your expedition leader will join all shore excursions and activities and provide daily recaps and briefings, and is always on hand to answer any questions that you may have. The EL team use our ships, shallow draft, quick disembarkation capabilities, which I'll come on to shortly, our special tender equipment, such as the Explorer tenders and Zodiacs, and our open deck spaces to kind of take you up close and personal to the places that we visit. I've mentioned the schedule of lectures and presentations specific to the areas in which you cruise. Coral Expeditions was one of the first cruise operators to employ interpretive guides on our cruises, and it's a tradition that continues today. Each trip, be that in the Kimberley and other domestic itineraries or all of our international cruises, include a mix of our full-time guest lecturers who join the expedition team, and special guest lecturers who are chosen for specific local knowledge and expertise. And so moving on to probably one of the most important facets of a Coral Expedition cruise, our Explorer tenders. For any of you who have travelled with Coral Expedition previously, and I think it's probably quite a few of you, you're going to be more than aware of the benefits that our Explorers offer. They've been purpose-built and designed by Coral Expeditions to provide the perfect conduit between our ships and the remote regions that we visit. And it's something that no other cruise line, domestic or international, can offer. They're really easy to board directly from one of the main decks, with no steps or ladders to contend with, before being gently lowered into the water with a kind of hydraulic system. And they provide comfortable padded seating, a full audio system to assist our guides in sharing their expert commentary, a canopy overhead protects you from the sun, absolutely crucial when we sail in tropical waters such as the 3 trips that we're going to be highlighting today. And there's a toilet on board for remote convenience. And this might not sound like a big deal, but is absolutely crucial in avoiding having to constantly head back to the mothership, and potentially avoids the need to find a suitable bush or have a quick dip in the ocean. In short, our Explorers allow us to deliver that true expedition product that Coral Expeditions are known for. They allow easy access not only to beach and harbour landings, but provide the perfect option for exploring the bays, rivers and coastlines of the areas we go to, as well as doubling up as excellent scuba and snorkel platforms where applicable. And all 3 of the trips that we're going to be focusing on today are heavily orientated around the stunning kind of marine life and the opportunities to get both in and under the water. So they're going to be particularly applicable for that. They allow us to on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes, which again means more time spent enjoying the areas you've paid a considerable amount of money to experience. They're equipped with 2 powerful engines on the back there, can reach up to 20 knots, and they allow us to cover large distances in far more comfort than the Zodiacs or Tinnies utilised by other cruise lines. So just a few additional photos here. So the photo on the left, it's kind of like a mini landing craft. So we've got a side access hatch as well. But we've also got this drop down ramp at the front, so it's absolutely perfect for those both wet and dry beach landings. So the one on the left is pretty much a dry landing. Depending on the kind of topography of the various beaches that we go to, you might have to jump into, you know, ankle or, you know, halfway up your knee kind of deep water, but certainly no more than that. The photo in the middle just shows it, you know, just watching over people as they go for a bit of a swim and a snorkel. But they're absolutely perfect and allow us to provide that true expedition experience. I've included the Zodiac image because on all our trips, domestic and international, we complement our Explorer tenders with the more kind of traditional Zodiac inflatables, and we use them in conjunction with each other. So where applicable and where suitable, you guys get the option to jump on board a Zodiac and be as adventurous or not, as the case may be, as you feel on a particular day. The last thing I'll say about Zodiacs, I've spent, you know, many hours on a Zodiac. They're not, for any journey longer than kind of 20, 30 minutes, they're not the most kind of comfortable modes of transport out there. There's no back support. There's obviously no kind of protection from the elements. And that is why our Explorer tenders are so crucial to provide that kind of comfortable expedition experience. So moving on to the ship that we're going to be using for the East Indies cruise series, or certainly the 3 itineraries that we're going to be covering today. Coral Geographer, she's our newest vessel, launched in late 2021. I'm not going to go into too much detail on Coral Geographer. If you guys would like to jump on our genuinely excellent website, we provide full deck plans and layouts. There's images, there's videos. Please feel free to peruse to your heart's content. Basically, all you need to know, she has a maximum capacity of 120 guests across 60 staterooms. All our staterooms are outward facing. Many, as you can see from the image, have private balconies, and they've been purpose built as, you know, to provide that kind of small ship, true expedition experience. And yeah, Coral Geographer is the ship that we're going to be cruising on for the following 3 itineraries. So moving on to our guest speaker today, Nicky Henderson. So Nicky is a member, she's actually our product manager based up in Cairns, and she has been responsible for planning and developing the 3 itineraries we're going to be covering today, and is going to be able to provide a bit of an overview of the highlights and what you can kind of expect on the following 3 itineraries. So welcome, Nicky. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Will. It's great to be here. I love talking about the trips we write.
Fantastic. Well, look, without further ado, we're going to move on to our first kind of featured itinerary today, the Sulawesi Circumnavigation, 20 nights, Makassar to Makassar, departing on the 3rd of April this year aboard Coral Geographer. As I mentioned, you know, it's a phenomenal trip. If you guys are looking for you know, fantastic and genuine cultural experiences, epic landscape, paradise beaches, islands, atolls, amazing marine life, so you can get, you know, in the water for swimming, snorkeling, scuba diving, where applicable, then this could well be the trip for you. So without further ado, Nicky, we'll move on to our first slide.
Thank you very much. Now, I just wanted to point out, like, as we was talking about the explorers and the zodiacs that we use, one of the joys in actually creating programs for guests and coral expeditions is having the ability to look at a map and see atolls in the middle of nowhere and islands in the middle of nowhere, and know that we can go there, that we can make expedition stops. So all of the next few voyages that I'll be talking about, they all feature a series of expedition stops between them all. So that pretty much means when we get there, we cruise up, we get there in the nighttime or in the morning, and the expedition crew will go out, have a look for the best place to land or snorkel or dive, and then you'll be the first ones on the island. So very remote locations we can get to because we do have those explorers, which is an amazing opportunity for us when we're creating programs. So the first location we're going to, as you can see, it's absolutely gorgeous, beautiful beach location. And essentially there, after a sea day, we'll arrive to Bunaken Islands and just relax. Plenty of time just for walking around, exploring. You can see it's very small, easy to navigate yourself in a day. And just after, just really getting in touch with the location on our first day after a sea day from Makassar. So really beautiful. And the expedition team will know I'll do a lot of work with where the dive locations are, snorkeling locations, swimming, this sort of location. We'd have the kayaks out as well this day, weather dependent. So yeah, a really nice chill day to start the adventure of the beautiful island Sulawesi, orchid-shaped island, unique shape to actually and to visit that in circumnavigation, I think is a rare thing as well. Thank you. So pretty much the way the trajectory of the trip is written, after we go to Balabalagan, we head over to another Balikpapan. And here we have the opportunity to go and visit the Samboja Lestari rainforest. Here's a sanctuary within a very, very thick rainforest. As you can see in the images Will has here, we've got the big plate-head male ape, orangutan, and then we have a couple of feeding areas and different locations where you can actually walk along the boardwalks to see them. So it's really accessible. We'll be talking to a lot of the scientists and researchers and workers there about the conservation process and what happens between, you know, the forces between, you know, the populations, environmental degradation, and how that impacts the orangutan and the sun bears within the location, and really what happens to them, you know, through that process of rehabilitation, particularly if the mothers have been killed, and what happens to the younger orangutans. So really, really interesting. And aside from just being in this amazing pristine rainforest, and if you haven't seen orangutan face to face before, it's an unforgettable experience. Really, really worthwhile. Thank you. And still, so we're in Borneo, which I didn't say. So we're in Indonesian Borneo. So still in the Indonesian section, but we're heading over to a really remote location. Generally, if you're going to head to this area, you'd fly in and, you know, travel for quite a long time by road. But being on a ship, of course, we have the opportunity to move around these islands in between locations in great comfort. So here we come into Samarinda. Samarinda is a, you know, as you can see from the images, it's a sprawling city with a labyrinth of waterways through it, and pretty much we'll be using the explorers a lot to their capacity to explore a lot of those river systems and actually just stop off along the way to see various locations of interest, including one of the great mosques as well, and really just engaging with the local population, and really another area there we've got is in Pampang, and where we'll meet the Dayak Kenya tribe and look at the Lamin longhouses. And so you get a really good understanding of the Dayaks. Across all of this voyage, we'll be meeting a lot of different Indigenous groups and exploring their culture on the island. It really gives you a great understanding of the incredible diversity that is Indonesia. Thank you. Alrighty, and then we head on to Seronde Islands. Now, there's plenty of atolls in this area, and basically this is another expedition stop where we'll actually we'll have a bit of a look around, see where our best place for landing is. You can see in the bottom right-hand picture there's a few little houses started there, the fishermen. So in a really casual and engaging manner, we get to sort of, you know, engage with local life, local culture. We spend we spend the morning there snorkeling and beachside activities as well. And I think one of the other things that I really haven't mentioned yet is the area in which we're travelling is a part of the Coral Triangle, which is quite an extensive area. If you have a look at a map, it stretches all the way to the Philippines and across to Indonesia, but we're pretty much smack bang in the middle of it on this voyage. And so if anyone's had any bucket lists of Coral Triangle, or it's one of the greatest marine biodiversity areas in the world. And so for us to be able to amble through various segments of the Coral Triangle on this voyage is really quite unique. Thank you. And Bunaken Island, I mean, once again, it's on the sort of the northern end of Sulawesi. Once again, a spectacular location for diving. It's a well-known diving location. And for us, a lot of people sort of tend to dive from the mainland and go out for the day, whereas we can sort of have a look around, explore, see what the weather's like, what's going to work for us best, and then the expedition team will actually gauge the day out, depending on where the weather is, what the wind's like, what the tides are like, to really maximise your experience. So when you go out, we'll actually, you know, really try to make sure you're in the best locations for, you know, whether you wanted to snorkel or dive. Kayaks, again, great location for kayaking in this area. Thank you. Lembata Straits. Now, this is an absolutely beautiful location as well. So essentially, we haven't actually ventured into Sulawesi this way before. So as you can, it's beautiful voyage in, and really by having the ship access into this location, we cut out an incredible amount of overland travel time. And so we'll be heading into the Kengoko National Park. We'll be having to see if we can find any of the crested macaque, the bear, the dwarf couscous. And there's a whole range of animals within the national park, and so we'll be using local guides. And aside from looking, we'll be looking at the flora as well. There's a rich endemic species that exists through this location. So we'll look at the guides, and we'll have a variety of walks depending on what your mobility is or what you choose. I always try to put a bit of a more energetic walk in there as well if people are looking to really sort of walk it out after the swimming and sort of walking around the smaller islands. So this is the option here to really have a look and learn about the species as well, and similarly again learn about the forces that have created this national park and actually maintain the national park for us to visit. Thank you. The Togean Islands, once again, they are, another beautiful location. And this location is quite interesting because it looks a bit like Raja Ampat with all the labyrinth of limestone islands. But what you'll find here is a lot of the Bajau people. Now, the Bajau are one of the many indigenous tribes. They actually spread all across the archipelago, right over into past Thailand, Myanmar, across that area, and they're boat sea people. So they live on boats. They've been incredible. I mean, I'm sure you may have seen them in various other areas of Asia, Southeast Asia. And so this is where a lot of them you can find a lot of the Bajau culture. And it's not surprising given the protection that you can see that these islands offer for the Bajau people. So we'll be able to interact with the Bajau, learn about their life and how they exist. Once again, with a lot of changing on, land ownership and citizenship, it's very interesting to be able to engage with the Bajau people and not only learning about where they've come from, but where are they going to, where do they see their future? How do they exist in what is a very different world from the original culture that they, began with. So beautiful location. There's also the amaranth jellyfish in the Mariona Lake. So we'll be aiming to swim with the jellyfish there. I recently had an opportunity to swim with jellyfish, golden jellyfish, so cute. It was amazing. It was actually in the Philippines. We're running a Philippines trip next year, but absolutely beautiful, really incredible experience. No sting, little golden ones pumping around, really beautiful. So really unique opportunity, I would say. Thank you. Benki Island, let me see if I don't have, thank you. Yes, I do. Oh, here we go. Okay, once again, similar to Raja Ampat. So these locations really, when we look at these, we've got so many different activities to do, from swimming. You can see this heart-shaped lake that's there, different. We've got another lake in the centre, so you could do a bit of climbing and into the lake with so many options of activities to do one these days. It really does come down to the weather and tide. So I would say, a lot of it will be swimming, snorkeling, diving, walking. We try to do a lot of forest walks, heading over to any of the waterfalls that we can find. In some of these locations, there's not a lot of villagers that live there. So, and there's often a lot of rock art around as well in these very remote locations. So, as Will was mentioning earlier, we have amazing guest lecturers on our voyages. And so even if you just wanted to go for a cruise around on the explorers in these areas, our guest lecturers have enormous knowledge, not only about the marine life or the geology of the location, but also, some of the broader terms, Sulawesi is, sort of middle of the Spice Islands and the Dutch East Indies. And so conversations around these, themes as well can occur whilst you're on the explorers. Thank you. Wakatobi. Wakatobi's an amazing island. It's actually the first place I ever went scuba diving. Did a discovery dive there and it changed my life. Didn't realise anything could be so beautiful underwater. Beautiful location. There's a lot of weavers on this island. Once again, there is a Bajau fishing village on this island, and it is, here it is really in the heart of the Coral Triangle. So we go to visit the Lia village. Beautiful, weaving style, so an ikat style of weaving that's also available for purchase as well. So a few different activities on the day. So once again, you can choose to decide, you know, in the morning, we try to run morning activities and evening, say if we're going afternoon, if we're going to the village, and then snorkeling, divings as well. So really beautiful location. And if you haven't dived before, I would recommend a discovery dive in this location. It really is beautiful and very, very accessible because you have a wall that drops straight just out from one of the locations on the island. So really accessible for you to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicky. And look, without further ado, as I will try hard to keep this to a 45-minute presentation, guys.
That's me.
Again, our full circumnavigation of Sumatra. 18 nights, Singapore to Singapore, departing in November later this year, again aboard Coral Geographer. Until I was actually joined Coral and was learning about this trip, and this will be our inaugural trip or inaugural full circumnavigation of Sumatra, I was personally quite unaware of what to expect with the island of Sumatra. But having done this presentation and my own kind of due diligence, prepare to be blown away, because from the marine life to the kind of cultural interactions to the landscapes, it's a phenomenal trip. But over to you again, Nicky.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'll try to be a bit quicker this time. It's hard though, so many amazing locations. And yes, you're right. People just think of this one island, you know, okay, we're doing another circumnavigation, but it is so rich from the south of the island to the north of the island. It's a whole range of different cultures, different cultural influences, different geology, different geography, different animals. So it really is worth doing an exploration of the circumnavigation of the island, really to get a taste of what the amazing Sumatra has to offer. So essentially we come across to Belitung Island. This is our first stop. And then we have an afternoon here, really just once again getting in the water. We'll have a bit of a walk around one of the smaller villages in the location. I'm just working with some people at the moment to see if we can get some sort of welcome dance, you know, maybe some pisang goreng, some fried bananas when we get there, and really just settle into the island and have a bit of a look around before we venture on to our next location. And that is Ujung Kulon National Park. Now, so here we are looking for the rhino, the black rhino. So we'll actually have trekking guides with us. We go to a particular location. We have been there a few years earlier, and I was reading all the site reports. They found footprints, rhino footprints. So we've got the right people there in the right spot. So if there's a possibility of seeing the rhino, then we'll be well placed to see it. There's also quite a few sort of walks that we'll do up to some of the sort of headland areas to have a bit of a look around as well, but really beautiful. It's it's thick jungle, river, and then it eases out into some grasslands as well, where there's deer. Great for birding. So if you're a keen birder, it's a great location for birding. National Park. Now, this is a really interesting national park, quite inaccessible. Well, you can get there, very difficult though. And so what we have here, you may have, once again, when we talk about wildlife in most locations, we talk about, environmental and population pressures. And so this particular location has been set aside quite a while ago as a tiger habitat. So it's a really interesting location, not only as much that, there are tigers in this area and we get to go on jeeps and like land jeeps, not the explorer jeeps, and cruise around and see what we can see, but we really get to learn about how the national park has worked over decades with the villages around them. So it actually becomes a supporting and integrated system rather than one that, in opposition to each other. So I think that's a really interesting story. And we'll talk to a lot of the researchers in the national park as well, just learning about, the tiger. And there's other species in here, of course, but the tiger is generally the hero shot for this one. Thank you. Engano and Dua Islands. Now, these are remote islands. So essentially it's swimming, snorkeling, interesting reef systems. This particular place on Engano Island, it has like a really interesting little inlet where we get a confluence of salt and fresh water, and it's called Blue Black Lake. Beautiful for swimming, surrounded by, jungle rainforest. So really gorgeous. And it offers, I think, a really sort of nice balance from, the start of the tour. What we always try to do is provide balance over the day. So you're not getting, too much of one thing. We spread it out over. So this is an opportunity just to really swim, dive, snorkel in pristine environments. environments. You can see there's no footprints on that beach. That's because it's hard to get to and it's spectacular. And Kulu. So all that when you have a look at the map on our website of this tour, you can see that it goes out to islands and back into shore, out to islands and back into shore. So what we've done with this program is really try to capitalise on some of the really unique histories of the area. And Bengkulu has a long history from the Indian history coming over with Hinduism through to we've got the Portuguese and the Dutch as well, and then the British. So in this program, we're really sort of having a look at sort of some of the British history and having a look at, some of the Chinese areas. All the odd shop houses still exist. So photographically, it's really quite interesting as well, sort of meandering. We'll do quite a few walking tours on this. Not too much of a distance. We'll have buses as well. But yeah, it's a really good location just to get a really good overview of the history of Bengkulu and the area. Thanks, Will. Sorry, jump up the screen. There you go. Okay, now Padang as a mainland is incredible location. I don't know if anyone knows Sumatran food. Padang food is my favourite Sumatran food, my favourite Indonesian food. So you can see this lady in the bottom left-hand corner, that's Padang style food, amazing. So in this location, we get to do it on a bit of a walking tour. It's also where the Minangkabau architecture from the highlands and the Minangkabau people actually meet the sea. So once again, it has its own sort of unique influence of cultures and ways, in itself. So and also there's got an amazing mosque there as well, incredibly in architecture. So we'll have a bit of a wander through the market, learn all about the area, and then after that we'll pop over to Sukai Island for beach drinks in the sunset. So a really lovely way to end the day.
Yeah, the food looks delicious.
It's fantastic. They cater well for vegetarians, if everyone's vegetarian, so there's no problem there either. Siberut. Yeah, look at that. Absolutely incredible. So this is another location where basically it's the coastal mangroves. You can see the reef system. So we'll actually just sort of be swimming, snorkeling around the areas. And then we're actually going to have a look at another location called what's it called? Sorry, Kadarai River. So it's actually not this island, it's another one, but in Siberut there's an island that snakes up into the interior of the island, and so we'll be taking an expedition cruise through that river system early in the morning, and basically working with the villagers, to go and meet these really remote locations. So it's a really interesting experience. Explore some of the interior systems of the island rather than sort of looking at the periphery. And North Nias. So in Nias is where we'll be having our signature experience. Those of you who know anything about the region will know that this particular area has a very, very strong and continued megalithic culture, and still have a lot of original structures, as you can see in the images here from Will, that are amazing and really interesting. So we'll have an incredible welcome dance from the Nias people and learn more about their culture. And this is one of the locations where they have the rock jumping and some stone stepping as well. The village is in itself it sort of has a bit of altitude to it, but there's plenty of opportunities, to walk and wander through and to really learn about the location, as well as enjoying some of their really incredible food. Banda Aceh. So Banda Aceh, incredible location again. Here we'll visit the Tsunami Museum to, get a greater understanding of, the impacts. We all saw it on television, we all read the news, but to actually see it in sort of in a physical form and to see what the Indonesian or Banda Aceh have done, with the location, and really we'll also have another traditional dance in this location as well. So just a day really where we get to explore, some of the interesting aspects of Banda Aceh, given that it is a location under Sharia law, which is different to the rest of Indonesia. So that in itself presents a whole range of other really interesting features and nuances that we can learn about whilst we're there.
And that actually segues in. So I've had a few questions coming in already, Nicky, and just as you mentioned Sharia law, someone was asking, obviously, you know, Islamic country, Indonesia, and dress codes. And can you kind of expand on you know how much should be covered up and that type of thing?
Yeah, for sure. T-shirt and shorts is fine, you know, as long as, you know, your shorts are sort of, you know, mid length, you know, they don't have you down to your knees. In Banda Aceh, I would, you don't need to wear a headscarf or anything like that. You know, they completely understand that, you know, we're tourists. It's about being respectful. So I wouldn't wear a low cut top. I wouldn't wear a short skirt. You know, if it's hot in these locations, so, you know, light cotton clothing, but, you know, a t-shirt and shorts, you know, to, you know, mid thigh is fine, no problem.
Thank you very much.
For me personally, I've been traveling in Indonesia by myself since I was 18. I've traveled all over Indonesia, never had an issue. Love it. Very nice people.
Lucky you.
I know. And then to Medan, crazy little city, but super interesting. They've got so much really interesting architecture that exists, you know, because once again, you know, the Dutch history, you know, the Portuguese, Islam came into Sumatra and then through into Indonesia through Medan. So really interesting confluence of architecture. And so we're going to load up into some becaks. It's the little sort of, you know, ones where the guys will, you know, cycle us around and cruise through some of these old and beautiful locations and stopping along the way. And all of these locations will have guides as well, so you can, you know, really get a great understanding. And, you know, quite a lot of people actually speak English in Indonesia as well, so it's a good opportunity to talk to the locals.
And again, just whilst we're on this, not necessarily just Medan, but another question that popped through is shopping choices and options, basically. Is there a bit of time to shop the local markets and buy a few little curios, that type of thing?
Yes, absolutely. I've certainly, look, I would like to go shopping when I go to great locations where there is good shopping. So I'm certainly going to allow some time in the program for it as well. The most important thing to remember is that we don't, the ships, we don't carry any rupiah on board. You'll need to get all of your currency before you come. And if you can, I always recommend small denominations. It's not always possible, but when we go into a location, if you have large denomination like Bengkulu, go into a 7-Eleven, buy something in the 7-Eleven, get small denomination, and so you're ready for the markets after that.
And just a follow-up question to that, is it a cash society? I mean, certainly remotely, yes, but in some of the bigger towns and cities, are cards accepted, or is it cash?
Yeah, the cards are accepted, but shops, like a physical structured shop, yes, mostly. You can certainly use your card, but I would bank on cash. And fortunately, there's a lot of ATMs as well. So our first stop for an ATM would be in Bengkulu. That would be the first location where you'd be able to get cash out from an ATM.
Thank you. Right, and moving on to our final focused itinerary today, in the wake of the mocassins. Look, if you're like me, who when I joined Coral Expeditions had never heard of the mocassins previously, I'll let Nicky explain a bit more detail. But this is obviously some stunning itineraries that kind of take in obviously some of the highlights of Sulawesi, as you can see from the map there, but Komodo Island and Padang Island, which are two of the many highlights of this particular trip. 14 nights from Darwin and Makassar, and we've got multiple departures in March and April this year, so relatively short lead. If any of you haven't got your travel plans sorted for this year, then this could be the perfect itinerary for you, but also next year in January 2025. So over to you again, Nicky.
Thank you, Will. I just wanted to say with this trip as well, so we've got the first departure leaving in March, and it actually, it finishes in Makassar and the Sulawesi circumnavigation starts. So if you wanted to, you could do both, you know, so you don't have to choose. And also the other interesting thing, the day the Sulawesi circumnavigation finishes is the day the Makassar to Darwin voyage starts. So once again, we've had a few guests who have actually taken the option of taking both trips. So that's something to look at as well if you're interested. So yeah, it's a beautiful trip, like really lovely. I love the way it snakes through, you know, the islands to get to Sulawesi. So our first stop is actually south of Kupang on sort of West Timor, I guess it's called. And this is with the I forgot the name of the Sison. Krakatau is the name of the instrument. So really beautiful. We actually land on the beach here, beautiful welcome from the local people. We get a great introduction to this really unique instrument. I haven't seen an instrument like it. And spend the morning with the villagers before we tuck into the water, or weather being well for swimming, snorkeling and kayaking, no doubt. Aloha Island, once again, look, they're all so beautiful. It's really, I'm going to say beautiful again, but they are. But once again, each of the locations offer something different. So here we're meeting we'll go to one of the markets, beautiful market in the morning. We'll have a look at the Moko, which is a really interesting museum talking about a whole lot of the particular all the different styles of moko over the period of time, and then what they look like now. They're sort of like a statue type thing. And he will go to the Lego village, where we'll actually meet the villagers, just like we are. We can see in that bottom left hand picture, and enjoy a really different type of welcome dance as well. I won't give too much away in case you want to go, but yeah, it's a really, really great experience. Lamalera, yeah, so this is one of the few villages where they still exist in subsistence whaling, and as you can see, the whaling methodology hasn't changed in a very, very long time. You can see in the images just how they go about work or killing the whales essentially. So we obviously won't see any whales being killed, but they'll do a demonstration of the physicality of the exercise. So it's a really interesting village, and that they still exist today because it is subsistence. So yeah, I think there's a lot to the village, and they're fantastic weavers as well. So on this voyage is a great opportunity to actually look at the weaving, buy some ikat and some different styles in the market as well. Kelimutu in Flores. So this is our only stop on Flores for this trip. And essentially, we'll pull it's in Ende where we start, and then we'll take a bus journey up towards these beautiful tricoloured lakes. Now, there's a couple of different walking options. You can, you can walk, right up to the top to have a good view over the lakes, or there's a couple of other locations where you can get a view of the double views of the lakes. But, they're different colours all the time. So depending on, I think it's the sulphur content and the algae content, and the time of year, they're different colours. Sometimes you'll see images where they're pink and grey and green and all different. But really, it is an incredible landmass. I mean, Flores itself is an incredible location, geographically. So it's great to be able to see that sort of coming into it as well. And here we also stop for fried banana and some coffee. Flores is great for its coffee, so we stop here and have some coffee with the nuns. And so the nuns run an orphanage and do a lot of social work throughout the local community. So it's great to have a chat with them and talk about what they do and where they get their funding from as well.
And just to segue again with a question that's come in, and I get asked this pretty frequently in presentations, and I'm using this slide as a bit of a kind of mountain volcano, is how kind of physically fit, Nicky, do you kind of need to be, not just for this potential walk up to the Crater Lakes, but in general? And I know that's quite a wide-ranging question. We're covering a big distance across the 3 itineraries. But is there some form of answer you can give that?
Look, I think for me, it's more about mobility than fitness. So all the team here, we design programs for a variety of fitness levels. And so when we, work with our expedition team, we have, a few options depending on the physical abilities of those on the voyage. And so really, no one's hiking through the forest for 5 kilometres or anything like that. Although if you wanted to, there might be an option to do that. So for something like this, what we always try to do, we try to get you as close as we can. It might be, I think we say, walking about, a kilometre and a half, something like that. So I think that's, we're not climbing the mountains. We'll get a bus up there, but there's always an extra step if people wanted to go a bit further.
Yeah, and just to chuck my 2 cents worth in, I kind of mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation as well, is that we provide options. It doesn't matter if we're in the Kimberley in Tasmania or some of these beautiful international destinations. We always give people the choice from lazing on the beach and doing a bit of snorkeling or scuba diving, or doing a bit kind of more physically demanding, exploration. Basically, there's always going to be that option, so you can kind of decide on a day by day basis, how adventurous and how kind of physically challenged you would like to be. Moving on,
Yeah.
Look, Padar Island, before Nicky goes away, one of the true highlights, I think, of this particular trip. But yeah, over to you, Nicky.
Yeah, it is spectacular. I mean, look at the shape of it, so we'll actually, there's once again, there's an opportunity, you can walk up to the peak and have a look out. You can walk halfway, you can walk, 10 meters, or you can swim, snorkel on the beaches around. So here really is, just for those who want to stretch their legs and just being able to get to have a look at this incredible view, really that's the option. And we also, have the explorers and do a bit of a cruise around some of the inlets as well, for those who may not want to walk up to the peak that day.
And again, highlight, known for, around the world, the old Komodo dragons and Komodo Island and Pink Beach. But over to you, Nick.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually. Now, I oddly enough, I got stuck on Komodo Island. The Pelny ferry was supposed to come back and didn't come back. So anyway, that's another story. But it's amazing to see, these giant, lizards moving around, and the guides are fantastic. They'll give you a good safety briefing, tell you all about them, what they eat, how they exist on the island. And really, it is because of tourism that the Komodo dragons still exist on the island. So I think it's always an interesting, dichotomy. Sometimes tourism loses things, but in this particular instance, tourism has kept the Komodo dragon on the island. And of course, Komodo Pink Beach from all the coral ground around the area. That's why the beach is so pink, beautiful. And then look at the color of the water. It really is spectacular. Beautiful swimming, snorkeling, and great diving around there as well.
And just to, there's a question came in on Komodo. How timescales? How long do we spend on the island?
Yeah, we've got a couple of hours. So we'll go on with the guides doing a bit of a walk, and then we'll go and visit one of the local villages. So in the actual timing, we're actually overnighting at anchor just off Komodo. So we do have that flexibility during the day to be able to stay longer if we wanted to. But generally, we'll go out for a morning excursion, come back for lunch, go back in the afternoon, and come back and get ready for dinner. So that's a general structure where we can of the day. So the whole day is focused on Komodo.
Thank you.
And did you want to say the name of this marine park, Will?
No, I would butcher it.
Takabonarate, spectacular. So it's a huge marine park. And so essentially, look at this. These are all taken from a variety of locations. Once again, if you've never dived before, or if you wanted to, go snorkeling, our expedition team are around. They're in Zodiac spotting, so everything's, quite safe. Depending on the weather, we might be able to get a kayak out here. But, and once again, depending on the tides, we might be able to sort of, land in some of the areas for a bit of a walk on some of the sort of island systems. But yeah, just a spectacular location to really swim and snorkel and dive. It's gorgeous. Tanah Toraja, amazing location. I don't know what's known about this, but this particular location, there's stories. The Cambodians actually have an affinity with Tanah Toraja, oddly enough. And so the actual housing structures that you see here, the history goes that they're the upturned boats from the Cambodian people coming to Toraja. So there's lots of interesting stories, and they have a really interesting funereal system, effigies, and the status of the bull is akin to the status of the Wagyu cow in Japan. So it's very revered, not as much as the cow in India, but a really interesting location. And we actually will leave the ship and we'll overnight in one of the local hotels in Tanah Toraja. So we can actually spend so much more time there, really having a look at some of the the different funereal systems and architecture, and learn about about, this really fascinating culture. Hopefully there'll be a bottle market on when we're there as well. So this is where everybody brings their bulls in, they're patted, they're massaged, just like the Wagyu beef, the Wagyu cows. Yeah, so really, really interesting location. I found it fascinating when I was there. And Tanaberu. So the Makasan, this is a really nice segue, Will. The Tanaberu, this is the Makasans, so this is where this particular location, as you can see, the vessels there, master shipbuilders, no nails, just incredible skill set. And it's also interesting to see, the younger generation. A lot of locations and villages have trouble keeping their younger generation, but, how they actually manage to, keep the younger generation, train them through, keep, this particular location as shipbuilders. Really, really fascinating. And so, some of the more established ones, probably not so much on the top right, but probably on the bottom left, you have to be able to go in and have a bit of a look around, to see what's built. And of course, by this stage, whether you are on the Darwin to Makassar or you're on the Makassar to Darwin trip, depending on which journey you're on, then you would have seen plenty of these styles of finisi during the course of your Sulawesi voyage.
Thank you very much, Nicky. And that brings us to the end of those kind of 3 focused itineraries we were highlighting today. Pretty much bang on 45, 50 minutes. So you can see why we had to split our East Indies cruise series into 2 parts. But look, it was just a very kind of brief overview of some of the highlights. So we've hopefully got you guys that have already booked on one of those 3 trips excited about your upcoming departure, and for any of you who are just considering their options, hopefully convinced you to jump aboard on one, if not more, of those 3 itineraries. So I mentioned the East Indies webinar part 2. So again, Nicky is I'm lucky enough to have Nicky joining me again on Monday the 19th of Feb at 3 p.m. Queensland time, I must point out. And we've got 3, again, beautiful itineraries. Raja Ampat and the Spice Islands, world famous part of the Coral Triangle, amazing, probably some of the best preserved, marine environments left on the planet. So Raja Ampat and the Spice Islands, 18 nights Darwin to Sarong and Sarong back to Darwin. Departs Jan, Feb and March next year, again aboard Coral Geographer, our newest vessel. And the second one, we've got a couple of kind of Borneo focused itineraries that we're going to be doing. So this one, an equatorial adventure across North Borneo, 16 nights, Manila to Singapore. So you get a bit of the highlights of so like Palawan, Puerto Princesa, which is absolutely stunning in the Philippines, before kind of moving along the top, Kota Kinabalu, Miri, I know well. I used to live in Brunei, actually, many years or so ago now, but have fond memories of Kota Kinabalu and Miri. But Manila to Singapore, departing in November later this year, again aboard Coral Geographer. And our final, our 6th itinerary of our kind of East Indies expedition kind of cruise collection into the wilds of Borneo. So 16 nights, Singapore back to Makassar again, which we've been talking about, departing on the 25th of December this year. So absolutely perfect if you want to avoid the obligatory, family Christmases aboard Coral Geographer again. So that's just a bit of a kind of taster. Obviously, if you can't wait until the February webinar, please jump online to our website. We've got full detailed day-by-day itineraries, photos, images, videos, that type of thing. But hopefully, you can join us later next month, and we'll have a bit of a deeper delve into those 3 itineraries. So look, I'm very conscious that we're a few minutes over the 45. So I'll and we've covered quite a lot of the questions as they've popped through on my phone during the presentation, which is great. You guys, please feel free to reach out to our genuinely excellent kind of res and service team based up in Cairns. So you can contact them on the Explorat email address. You can call us on the 1-800 number. But please also feel free to reach out to your travel agent. We've been working with the trade for pretty much close to 40 years now. So, whether or not you want us to answer your questions direct or you want to go through your travel agent, we're absolutely happy either way. But just to cover a few of the last questions that have popped in, just to expand, a few of you have asked to expand on the kind of scuba snorkel kind of option. So obviously all the free trips that we highlighted today, and the free where we're going to be kind of delving deeper next month in another kind of East Indies Part 2 webinar. As you can see from some of the images, you know, the chances to get kind of in and under the water are practically unlimited. We provide you with your own set of snorkel gear at the beginning of each cruise. We do ask that you return them at the end of the cruise, but they are yours for the duration of the trip. Scuba diving. Nicky mentioned some kind of discovery dives. So we do, where in applicable locations and subject to availability, offer, you know, non-scuba scuba certified guests on board a bit of an intro to diving. So we're not going to give you your kind of PADI open water certification. We're not going to take you down to kind of 18 meters or anything like that. It will be in a calm, protected lagoon, probably with a sandy bottom, but it will give you kind of an idea of what to expect when scuba diving, hopefully get you kind of primed and ready to go and get your qualifications and jump back on another trip next year. But for any of you who are scuba qualified and are looking to do some scuba diving on any of our 6 itineraries that make up the East Indies series, please, if you've already booked, please make sure that you make your travel agent or our res and service teams aware that you would like to do some scuba diving. And we can just make sure that we've got the necessary equipment. It is subject to availability. We've got, you know, limited scuba dive spots, so please jump in there early. And like I say, the choices of scuba and particularly snorkel options are practically unlimited. Moving on to Wi-Fi. A few of you always ask, what's the connectivity on board like? Some of you have said that when you cruised with us, you know, previously a few years or so ago, it was left a little bit to be desired, which I'd probably agree with. So in the last kind of 6 to 12 months, we've invested a large amount of money with old Elon Musk's Starlink technology. Not that he needs the additional money, let's be honest. And from what I've been told, the Wi-Fi capabilities now are better than our Cairns head office, for example. Included in the fare that you've already paid, we provide you with what we call our standard Wi-Fi package. That is going to be more than adequate for your basic kind of internet needs. It's keeping in touch with friends and family. You know, it's posting, you know, a few photos, videos, images to social media to make the rest of your family and friends pretty jealous. But for those of you who are potentially super unlucky that they've got an important business meeting, or God forbid, you want to download the latest Netflix movies, which you're not going to have time to do, I assure you, you might want to upgrade to our Platinum service. That comes at a relatively small additional cost, but you know, you get the Platinum and you can kind of download and stream to your heart's content, basically. But for anybody looking for their day-to-day, you know, internet needs, the included standard Wi-Fi is going to be more than adequate. A couple of you have asked, is the Coral Expedition product truly all-inclusive? So we call it an all-inclusive fare, and you know, 99% of that, absolutely. So obviously all your onboard and ashore excursions are included. Obviously all your meals are included. Alcoholic drinks during lunch and dinner service are included. So that's beers, wines, spirits. Obviously outside of that, you know, teas, coffees absolutely come included in the cost. The only time the only additional expenses, so one would be scuba diving, if you'd like to, if you're a qualified scuba diver and you'd like to do some diving. Drinks, alcoholic drinks outside of the lunch and dinner service, and then laundry. So we have laundry facilities on board, particularly for some of our longer, you know, circumnavigations. Laundry potentially becomes more of an issue than some of our shorter expeditions, and that comes at a small additional cost. And look, I'm pretty sure, Nicky, that we've covered all the ones that have popped through whilst I've been doing the presentation. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope I've inspired you to pick up the phone to your travel agent and get yourself booked on one of those 3 itineraries. For those of you who are already booked, look, you're going to have an absolutely fantastic time. And as Nicky said earlier in the prezzo, these itineraries, you know, operate, you know, back to back, or certainly the Sulawesi and in the wake of the Macassans. So, you know, please don't feel that you've got to restrict yourself to just one itinerary. We offer 10% discounts on any adjoining cruises. So, you know, please feel free. 1, 2, 3, as many as you want. We will gladly get you booked in. Any questions you've got, guys, please reach out to us up in our Cairns head office. Reach out to your travel agents and hopefully see you aboard soon. A massive thank you to you, Nicky. Really appreciate your kind of passionate insight. If I was left to my own devices, I would have been butchering some of the pronunciations and that type of thing. But your local on the ground knowledge is absolutely superb. And guys, that's why, you know, the secret of coral expedition success over the last 40 years has been people like Nicky and our product team who hit the ground. They're very lucky. I'm jealous sometimes that Nicky gets to fly off and, you know, really go and plan and develop some of these itineraries. Any of you on these trips, you're going to have a fantastic time. Thank you to Nicky. Thank you for joining us once again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, guys, and cheers, Nicky.